Hi, welcome to a new episode in the Internet Surfer, hosting the most horror and creepiest stories from Reddit. Please don't forget to comment, like, share, and subscribe. Enjoy.
I want to go outside. A long horror story from Reddit. Nosleep. I saw the time on the digital clock, 2:59 a.m. I rolled over and went back to sleep. That's why we were having a sleepover at Pilar's house. Bobby woke up at 2:59 a.m. and did what any sane person would. Only Pilar had seen 2:59 a.m. and thought to get out of bed. I saw him, he said the next day. We met in the middle of our street, Ferry Street, on our bikes. It was 1990 in mid-August, and we were 10. The apprehension and wonder of the new middle school we would enter had been totally numbed by the death of our fathers. They'd died in the same accident the previous March. Our fathers were close and moved to Ferry Street at the same time. After a few drinks at the pub, they walked home. The drunk driver didn't realize he'd taken them out with his truck. He kept going, parked in his driveway, and passed out in his car. When he called 911, the next day, he said somebody had been murdered in his car. Bobby and I were at the funeral, and didn't understand exactly what had happened. Our fathers were gone. Our moms became so fragile. We were on our own. We only had each other. It wasn't enough. We went through the motions of friendship and life and couldn't express the loss. Even now, the best I can do is to suggest it was like going to a funeral every day without visiting the cemetery. Without burying a body. People gave us pained looks and offered their condolences. We didn't know what that meant and had no way of looking it up. Pilar called it EIRD. Bobby got quieter and seemed always on the verge of tears. I don't know what I became other than something hollow. We all woke up at 2:59 a.m., Pilar said. How do you know that? I asked. He shrugged. I don't know, but I'm right, aren't I? Listen, guys, our dads, they're back. I saw them last night. They were walking up the road at 3. Bobby and I shared an incredulous look. No, really, guys, I can prove it. Stay over tonight. You'll see. There was no point in asking our moms for permission. In these dark times, they agreed to everything without really hearing what we said. I asked anyway. Is it okay to sleep at Pilar's tonight? Sure, my mom said. She was in bed. I don't know if she got up that day. Pilar set us up in his living room. His place looked pretty dirty. There were empty beer bottles everywhere. I think he'd been drinking them. He seemed kind of tired and his eyes were half-lidded. We played video games on his old TV and had snacks for dinner. Close to 11, I started to yawn. Tired? Pilar asked us both. Yep, Bobby said. His usual patience had grown thin. Maybe he thought Pilar's scheming had finally crossed the line. I found it comforting. Pilar had endless exaggerated tales before our dads died. They ended at the funeral. Now they seemed to be back. I didn't know how he knew we'd all awakened at the same time. And I didn't think I'd see my dad. But the return of his lies felt like the normalcy I so desperately needed. Pillows are upstairs, Pilar said, observing that neither of us had brought any. After a moment pondering how I could forget a pillow, I trudged up to the second floor and noted further degradation in the house. Pilar's mom had trashed the place, and never cleaned up. There were slashes on the wallpaper and smashed frames. All the lights were off, but we knew the place well, having stayed over countless times before. I heard his mom snoring through her open bedroom door. Wisely, I kept moving and found the pillows. Scant light from outside put a portrait around a red mark on his dresser. I had put it there. Pilar and I were blood brothers. Bobby had declined the ritual after seeing me freak out over my bloody thumb. I'd used the dresser handle to pull myself up before I booked it home, crying all the way. I returned to the living room to find Pilar settling into his spot on the couch. Bobby sat on his sleeping bag. "Did you set an alarm or something?" I asked. Pilar smiled. "No need. We'll wake up. Don't worry." He yawned. Bobby rolled his eyes and turned on the Nintendo. He didn't have video games at home, so he would spend the night in a way he found worthwhile. It might have been the only reason he'd endured Pilar's tale about 2:59 a.m. I picked up the second controller and entered the Konami code for Contra. The sequence of buttons was prized lore among kids. It gave the extra lives needed to complete difficult games. Bobby smiled but looked sad and exhausted. "You okay, Bobby?" He didn't answer the objectively stupid question. "Think we could beat this without cheating? Do you think anyone has? Like, you get so few lives without the cheat code, it isn't fair." "It isn't." Bobby shook his head, and his little gun-toting avatar died when he took his hand off the controller to wipe his tears. "You're right," I said. "It isn't fair." We played for a few hours and agreed to sleep, believing strongly in the possibility that Pilar would wake us up at 2:59 in order to do something stupid. "I love him, you know," Bobby said. "And I fucking hate his guts." We were both in our sleeping bags, staring at the white ceiling. "Pilar?" I asked, but Bobby didn't answer. I figured he went to sleep, so I did the same. 2:59 a.m. came next. "Look! Look! Get ready!" Pilar shouted until we were fully awake. "They're coming! Hurry!" He beckoned us over to the wide window behind the couch. The street outside had never been brightly lit. I saw a man staggering alone, a drunken shadow that could be anyone. To my surprise, I was disappointed. I wanted it to be true. "Pilar, man, come on," I said. "No, wait, just wait," he said. I humored him and kept watching. A shaft of unnatural light illuminated his face. He looked straight at me from the middle of the road and smiled as if it had all been a mistake. I couldn't believe it. My dad stood there, alive and well, and a little drunk. "Dad!" Bobby shouted. "Dad!" He scrambled off the couch and tripped over the coffee table. "Wait. Just wait. I'm coming." I looked back outside. It was my dad there. Pilar started next. "Dad! Dad!" He went to the front door. Instantly, I knew, all of it was wrong. "No. Stop. Stop." But they didn't. Both were fighting one another to unlock the door. I bowled into them. They had to see reason, we couldn't all be seeing our fathers in one man. "Stop!" I shouted, blocking the now unlocked door. "There's one guy out there. I saw my dad. And you saw yours. That isn't possible. Get out of the way." Bobby yelled, grabbing my arms, and pulling. Pilar joined him. Together, they overpowered me, and opened the door, admitting a rush of frigid air and silence unnatural to an August night in Bridal Veil Lake. I grabbed at it but knew I could only hold one. I chose the blood brother. Bobby sprinted down the walkway to whatever the hell waited outside. I saw the shadow kneel and open its arms. Its face gone, indistinct in the dark, and certainly not any of our fathers. Pilar and I fell to the floor. I managed to entangle him, and kick shut the door. When I did, we both heard the anguished cry from Bobby. A strangled, futile plea followed, which made Pilar and I look at one another. "He's gone," Pilar said. "He's gone. Oh my God. IPU." I pushed him away. I opened the door, and it was true. The man, the thing that had appeared as my father and Pilar's and Bobby's, was gone. So was Bobby. No sign of either remained. The unusual quite ceased, and the night resumed its cadence of crickets and traffic in the distance. I went inside. My hands were trembling, but I felt detached from the world and my body. "You saved me," Pilar said flatly. He closed the door and reached over my shoulder to lock it. He went into the living room and found his sleeping bag. Somehow, he rolled over and went to sleep. I didn't know what to do. I sat on the floor. When terrible things happened, I used to go to my parents. It's not that our moms didn't care. They couldn't anymore. Too much had happened. That's why I did nothing too. There was nobody to tell. If I tried, I predicted only more absent-minded acknowledgement that I had spoken. "Bobby's gone," I'd say. Sure, Mom would say, and I'd still be on my own. I still wouldn't know what to do. I don't know right now, and it's 34 years after the fact. Guess that's why I'm writing about it. I left Pilar's at the first sign of dawn and found sleep as easily as he had. When I woke up, it was late in the afternoon. I ate waffles for supper and played Nintendo into the night. I didn't see my mom. When I heard her crying, I closed the door. Bobby's mom didn't call the police. She didn't come to our place or Pilar's to look for him. Sleeping that night was difficult. I stared out the window, and the digital clock on my nightstand. I had no intention of staying up until 2:59 a.m., but that's what I did. At 2:45 a.m., Pilar left his house and crossed the street to mine. He had a coil of rope and a baseball bat. He knocked on the door rapidly and shouted my name. I ran downstairs, worried he'd wake up my mom. "What the hell, man?" It felt weird to talk. I hadn't said a word since the previous night. "Dude," he yelled, "open the door. I got a plan." I reached for the doorknob but hesitated and looked at my hand for no good reason. "Why do you have rope and a bat, Pilar?" "What?" he asked. "I can barely hear you." "Open the door." "Pilar," I said, "why do you have that stuff with you?" He didn't say anything straight away, and then, "We're going to get that thing. We're going to get Bobby back. Come on." I could picture Bobby rolling his eyes. Another wacky scheme by Pilar. "Man," I said, "I can't. I didn't have it in me to face whatever we'd seen last night, and I didn't think a rope, bat or nuclear bomb would be enough to bring Bobby back. He was gone. He is gone. Pilar must have known." "What? Are you kidding?" Bobby's gone," I said. "They're all gone. Nobody's coming back. Go home, Pilar." His bat crashed against the door. "Open the fucking door. Pilar." "What the dash?" He swung again, and again. The handle rattled on my side as he began to target it. "Stop. It's coming. Open up. Don't leave me out here, man." "Fine. Stop." "Okay." I might have opened it then, but the unnatural quiet consumed the night as it had before. I could hear Pilar whispering, though, not exactly what he said. "Who are you talking to?" I asked. "Hurry. He's coming. Hurry." He resumed his attack on the door, and I almost gave in, I really did, but something occurred to me. "You didn't go out to see our dads the first night," I said. "What? Why didn't you go see your dad, Pilar?" "Nothing," from the other side for a moment. "Let me in." His tone changed from pleading to anger. "Open the door. Right now." I waited. He smashed the handle. I gripped it in mine, willing the door to hold. "You fought me last night, Pilar, but not that hard. He said he loved you. Bobby loved you, Pilar. But you lied about that first night. Do you love me?" he asked. "Do you?" I thought about my bloody thumbprint. "I don't know, man. I don't know you anymore. I don't know me. I don't know. He's here. Last chance to see your dad. It's either me or you that goes. He said he needed two of us. Then he'd bring him back for real. What would you do? If you could get your dad back, man, what would you give? I wouldn't give you, Pilar. I wouldn't give Bobby. Pilar began to cry. I could hear him. He dropped the bat, it clattered on the walkway. The rope hit the patch of dirt in the grass we used for home plate. I love you, I swore I heard him say. He didn't scream like Bobby, but his anguished gasp revealed the pain. When noise returned to the world, and I could overcome my fear enough to move, I opened the door. Pilar had brought more than a rope and a bat. In his school backpack, by the curb, I found a carving knife, handcuffs, in case the rope didn't suffice, I guess, a barbecue lighter, lighter fluid, and, the coup de grace, a letter written by Pilar. In it, he explained how all three of us had run away. I sat on the curb with that letter in my hands till about mid-morning. My mom came out and found me. Police were called, but I couldn't speak much about what had happened. Pilar's written version became the dominant narrative. They figured, I think, that I had chickened out on taking off with my friends. Offering a fragmented tale about our dads coming back, but actually not, made me look crazy. I went home. I fell asleep. That's when I woke up at 2:59 a.m. again. He spoke softly but clearly. Son, it's me. It's okay. You can come out now. Son, come on down. I didn't go. I don't think I breathed. It stopped. I didn't wake up at that time. Not for the longest time. Life resumed. Kind of. Nothing good about Ferry Street remained for my mom or me. We moved across town and carried on the best we could. I did all the things I was told to do but didn't make any lasting connections. The hollow feeling never went away. Once in a while, I could forget about those nights. I could pretend to be someone else in a crowd. But real joy has never been mine. Days and moments usually associated with happiness are reminders of what I've lost. To say my sanity is compromised regularly would be accurate. I wouldn't have written anything about this, but then it happened again. I woke up at 2:59 a.m. I didn't get out of bed. But it hasn't stopped. I wake up at the same time every night and have for the past 2 weeks. And last night, I didn't go to the window. I went to the door. I grasped the handle and couldn't think of one reason not to go outside. Only soul-rending fear kept me in. Keeps me in. But I could overcome it. Pilar did. Maybe tonight. If I open it, I'll see his face again, one more time, alive, and then it'll finally be over.
Thanks for watching. Please comment, like, share and subscribe. The Internet Surfer on YouTube for more horror and scary stories.